Happy Tuesday, everyone, although to some of us in the United States, it feels like Monday. I think we're going to be a little discombobulated this week because of a long holiday weekend. You are listening to Elaine Bartlett, and this is the Purple Portal. And I will be inviting and encouraging you to call in today with thoughts and questions because we're going to be talking a lot about healing and how we sabotage ourselves. And I'm going to be working from material from a book that I picked up, probably now about 10 years ago, when I was in California and passing through one of these, like a business fair. It was a book and business and kind of a new age fair. It was so massively large that it was kind of one of these things where you can't help but feel, I don't know how I'll find what I need. I was like a homing pigeon being directed to this exact material that we're going to be discussing today. So here's a number, 321-806-3159. Once again, it's 321-806-3159. Some of you may not feel comfortable with this topic today, and you may want to give me a quick shout out via email, which is purpleportal777@gmail.com. purpleportal777@gmail.com. It's a delicate topic. It's a topic that I'm sure will push some buttons in some of you. It's a topic that creates sometimes a little bit of inner turmoil because my approach to healing and good health is, first and foremost, we have to be accountable for it. So that's where we're going to be floating today. But of course, I do want to say a couple of things about, once again, either what's happened in the last couple of days or on my journey up Merritt Island today, because they struck me as worth sharing and worth a kind of a cosmic chuckle. Down in the South, we have grocery stores that are called Publix. And if you've ever been to Florida, it's kind of like the go-to destination for anything and everything. And happily, some days, the checkout person or the guy or gal bagging will say, "Can I help you out with your groceries?" Well, usually I desist and say, "Oh, no, thank you. I don't tell them this, but I'm not over the hill yet, and I can do just fine." But the other day, this dear elderly gentleman who seemed older than I said, "Oh, no, let me help you out." And I'm thinking, well, okay, the kinder thing is give him a break from his bagging obligations. So we go out and I'm chatting, very amicably. Gee, I think I put the car over here. I mean, it wasn't a conversation that was brain surgeon-like. But I'm being just gracious and kind and calm. And he's now loading the groceries in, and now he reaches out his hand and tells me his name, so I respond, "My name's Elaine." Now, immediately, some of you know, my initial background is palmistry. I can tell a heck of a lot, oftentimes, from a person's handshake. So he had one of these handshakes that was almost too hard, and you could feel like a sense of opinionated and a harshness of thinking. His hand wasn't hard, but it reflected a harshness of thinking. So I'm still holding on, and he says to me, "You look like a believer." Well, I nearly cracked up, but again, I'm being very polite, and I looked at him because I knew, like in South Florida, a lot of the believing is very, very opinionated and stilted. A lot of the believing has to be, it goes along this line. I believe, and therefore I'm saved, and if you don't believe the way I believe, you are not saved. And his handshake said that, and in so many words, his words said it. So I thought, how am I going to get around this thing? So I looked at him with a great big smile, and I said, "Sir, You have no idea. My beliefs are so expansive, I don't even know where or how to begin. So have a great day. Because it's this kind of personality in him, he's going to be ready to convert me. And I don't need a conversion. I convert every moment. Why am I going to go into some very restrictive belief system? So it gave me the chuckle of the day. I look like a believer. Well, the humorous part was I came home, and on the way home, driving home, I'm thinking, dang, what is it? Is it the hairdo? Do I have like a buttoned up collar? What the heck is it that makes someone say you look like a believer? Honest to goodness, I stood in front of the mirror and I thought, do I need to chop off my ponytail? What's the deal here? And finally, I just thought, the heck with it all. I am a believer. He should only know, though, how large and how embraceable and all-encompassing and almighty is my belief system. So that was the humor of that week. Now, driving up here today, on Merritt Island, there is a delightful little airport, and it is little. You know, I don't know that much about airplanes, but I would think a super jet cannot land at this small airport. It's like just the little personal airplanes take off and land. I love airplanes. I have always been so fascinated by the whole energy of it. Where are people going? How do they know how to take care of an airplane and be safe in it? It's always really, really been a big pull. So oftentimes, if any plane's coming or going, I'm watching this plane. So I'm driving down the one and only street from point A to point B on Merritt Island, and a small, I could be misnaming it. Again, I don't know my airplanes, but I would think it was like a biplane. It was a small plane. And this thing is like coming in on my head. So I look at the plane and I'm like, wow, on my head is on my head. This is fabulous. So now it's right on top of me. And I look up, and there one wing says Jesus, and the other wing says lives. Now, once again, I'm seeing the humor of this thing, and I'm like a happy girl, because I'm one of the few that says, you bet your boots he lives. He never left. He never left this plane. And all this nonsense of him dying and the tragedy of his death, I want to shake people and say, would you get over it? He's pure energy. He knew it. He's a cool master. He came with a great message. His message was so powerful and so great, he had to be murdered as a rebel, which, of course, many of the enlightened teachers, masters, and thinkers from all time have been murdered. But that doesn't mean they don't live. So, as far as I understand about this really cool guy, he never left this place. He seems to have a strong affinity toward our success in not destroying ourselves. And so he is so consciously aware of every single flicker that's going on. But I had to laugh because, once again, it's kind of like, I'm sure whoever put those two words on that wing is not seeing it how I see it. So it's all a point of perspective. And some of my radio work is to help you expand your own perceptions and your perspective. Because we have been conditioned to keep it very narrow, very tight, very buttoned down. And I would like to help you unbutton and break loose. So in that light, I'm going to start now with our healing stuff. Well, I can't start with the healing stuff. I do have to tell you one thing about galactic energy, because that always thrills me out of my mind. Today, we actually have stepped into the next moon. We've stepped into the next energetic moon energy, and this is the rabbit moon, or the crystal. It's actually called the crystal rabbit moon of cooperation. So Cooperation is a really big word that human beings seem to not want to be too happy exploring anymore, but it is worth exploring for the entire month. And crystal energy is very light and expansive. Oh, let me see if I can just give you a couple of words of wisdom about the crystal energy before I move into healing stuff. Can I do this quickly? Crystal. Yes, I can. All right. The crystal energy has to do with a sense of rededicating yourself to yourself. You're the only one that gets to do you. And then once you do you, a larger sense of cooperation and broadening, just broadening. So you do have a huge place in the formation of the tapestry of life. And it's very valuable. When that essence of you is complete with the experience of life, it doesn't mean the entire tapestry disintegrates. It really is. If any of you have ever worked with what we call crewel work, CREWEL, or embroidery or tapestry, sometimes there's just a little flick of a certain thread, a little flick of white, a little flick of brilliant orange. And so it doesn't mean that your life was wasted. It just means that's the experience to get that little flick of energy into the universal tapestry. So nothing is ever lost, including the tapestry. Okay. So I was looking this week, and now remember, if you want to call in, the number is 321-806-3159. But I think some of you are going to want to just hold that call until you see where I'm going with this. Many of you know I have a library. My books have books. That allows me to call myself a true bookie. So my books have books. However, over the years, I've outgrown a lot of them. And particularly in the last 18 months, as I've become much more clear about the fact that I am that, and I am the eternal one, as you are. So many of the books have just dropped away because they're in duality. And I don't want to be going down the wrong road anymore with things that are in duality. It just doesn't work for me. So my antennae are up, my everything is heightened, my sight is heightened, my hearing is heightened, and probably much to the chagrin of some people, although I'm very careful, really, for the most part, of when I see someone's in duality, it's generally not appropriate to say much about it. Sometimes it is, and when it is, then you almost, on some level, I'm asking permission. But anyway, so I was reading this work about illness because my next book is going to have to do with illness and getting in touch with the essence of it, and then the healing. Or how is our healing? So in this book, which I've always been very fond of, and actually the book is called Right Use of Will, it says, quote, "Illness is not sabotage. It is the body's statement that you have been having to hold the imbalance of denied will, and this needs release. If you can accept the message and regain your necessary balance, illness disappears and health prevails. No person needs to die from illness if body has another option that is real for it." Now I'm going to go back here a little bit. Well, I think I'll take that one right at the top here. No person needs to die from illness if body has another option that is real for it. What does that mean? That means in the old days, in some of the civilizations, the Mayan civilization, as a matter of fact, many of the Atlanteans, Lemurians, when their play or place in the tapestry was complete, not that they took their life, there was no the willfulness that way. But when there was a thorough understanding of the completeness, they simply withdrew the light force from their body and therefore disintegrated it. That is, in the ideal world, how we can leave our body. And every single person on this planet actually holds that encoding deep within themselves. But you've been frightened and misprogrammed to think something other than that. So if I go back to illness is not sabotage, it's your body's statement that it's holding an imbalance of denied will and needs release, then perhaps it's time to really look at the imbalance. Where and why has the imbalance been created? And then put it down, acknowledge it, and put it down. So let's suppose you're holding an imbalance. Let's suppose an imbalance was created by sexual abuse when you were a little tot, male or female, because now I'm finding sexual abuse seems to have had no limits. It went everywhere. So let's suppose you are a little girl and you were sexually abused. And then you've been to the therapist to try to figure out how to get around it. This kind of material would simply say, embrace it. Get to own it completely. Now, the anger and the rage that would be there because of the violation, I don't care how much therapy you have, that's still there. Then you need to address that and not take it out on someone. You don't go back to the original perpetrator. You don't go to someone. But generally what I've seen is, in that kind of example, the person holds deep in the core of them a rage, like a seething, slow-boiling anger and rage toward everyone. So then it comes out against the boss. It comes out against their little children. It comes out against the neighbor's dog. And so it finds unhealthy and incomplete releases. So you need to take yourself and find a way to release this sense of imbalance fully. And that's the operative word. And only you know what fully is. It could be, to me, nature is one of the biggest helps. If you're a swimmer, you want to swim 1 billion laps and get it out of your body. If you're a hiker, if you're you want to jump rope, some people say, okay, you can beat the pillow. I'm cautious about that. If you have a pillow that's designated as the dear poor pillow that gets beaten, okay, but you sure don't want to be beating a pillow that you're going to put your head on at night, because then you absorb the stuff all over again. So you want to be very, you're a life work. You deserve to, without being so into yourself that you're contemplating your navel at all times, but really being accountable for your own sense of imbalance. And sometimes you actually don't need to get to the root of it. Over the years, I've had many people come and, they've been to a therapist, and the therapist has then convinced them that there has been, generally it's around sexual misconduct, that, yes, you were violated. I don't know. Oftentimes, I don't see it in their energy field, but now they've hung on to the story. So whether the story is authentic or not actually doesn't matter. You could have come in, birthed as a very angry person. I have a half-sister. From the get-go, she came out of the womb angry. Nobody did anything to her. She came angry. And at 60-something years old, she's still angry. Because it takes a lot of work to be accountable for our own imbalances. And with something like that, there's nothing to do. There's certainly nothing for me to do because the person's not ready to address the imbalance. So, getting in touch with this stuff requires consistency, discipline, enough self-love that you want to leave this planet as healed as you possibly can. Now, you might ask, what would be the advantage of that? Because you believe the fairy tale that when you die, it's all over and you go to heaven, or if you were really a rotten player, then you will go somewhere else. None of that's true. That's all fairy tales to keep you indoctrinated and buying into false programming and false conditioning. So what happens is you do take yourself with you. And I was speaking to a beautiful gal this morning who's working her way through a body that Western medicine was pretty darn filled with cancer. And she's chosen to go a completely separate route. She's not going traditional medicine. She kind of said, nope, I got to go fix this. I've got to take care of this imbalance. And her question to me this morning was, incidentally, she's been for 3 months in a state that allows cannabis as a natural healing agent. So she's been on that treatment. But this morning, she's back now in the native state, which does not allow anything like this. And her question was, gee, I have a lot of pain coming from this point to that point, and what's my take on it, and can I assist her in lightening the sensation of pain? Well, that's the first thing. It's kind of like if a person's hungry, you've got to feed them before you can tell them anything important. That's like step one. But I've been working with her, and I assured her much of my work is done in the middle of the night, and all I do is take a lantern, the pure light that I am, and cross into her and stand there, and then allow the light to heal as it wishes to heal, as she can allow it and accept it in the healing process. If she can't accept it, not my problem. It's just where she is on her journey. So I've been standing inside of her faithfully, consistently, and she's like, could you stand in there again? Mm-hmm. And then I said to her, if tomorrow is the day you leave here, I said, all is well. You've taken the time to detox, to clear out, to clean up things, and you take yourself into another avenue of expression, healed. That's the benefit of us doing our work. It's really, really big stuff. And you know what? She got it. She understood. And she's not afraid of, okay, if this experience is complete, it's complete. That's a big thing right there. It's a sense of complete acceptance. So that's where she is, and that was a wonderful thing to hear this morning. So anyway, this book goes on and it has some tremendous insights about denial and healing and listening to yourself. And here's a statement: when you really listen to yourself, you can heal yourself. And here's why. When you really, really listen to yourself, you will know, in your words, I am that. I am the healer. All is well. And Shazam, you got it. It's done. And that's what you will realize. So, and the cosmic joke here is Western medicine thinks there's something to heal. Even a lot of healers believe there's something to heal. There's nothing to heal. There's only to remember who you are. And then the healing takes place and the imbalance is completely adjusted. Now, that's where I know some of you will find conflict and you'll be unhappy with me. and you'll be saying, but this is wrong and that's broken and this has happened. I have full compassion for what's happening. I'm trying to point you toward a way to help yourself. That's all that's happening here. I'm not denying where you are. No way. But I am saying, hold my hand, because in the hand is a reminder of your light, reminder of what you are. So this happy little book goes on to say, and unfortunately, I only got to page 16. Well, that's not true. I've read the book several times, and it's surprising how you can see things at certain times, and then at other times, you actually can't see it. And that's the problem with why we can't clean up our healing act quickly, whether it be physically, mentally, emotionally, or even spiritually. So here's what the book says. It is necessary to ask me, and me is capital letters, to fill you with light, ... often. And I went, oh my God, how much else in the book is false? I'm going to read it to you again. It is necessary to ask me, God, to fill you with light often. Well, that's what you've been programmed. You've been programmed to, please, God, heal me. Please, God, help me. And I'm telling you, I'm here today to help you break the paradigm of your belief system and help you get out of the matrix. That is a pure crock of baloney. It is not necessary for you to do anything. Number one, it's not necessary for you to do anything. So right there, the book is in trouble with me. Ask me to fill you with light? Excuse me? I know that I am that. How can you fill me? This is aligned with, let me send you love and light. It's like that. So you see how insidiously things are divisive and dualistic that are woven right smack into some very healthy material. So the discerning mind, you are told you are to be as wise as a serpent. And that serpent, well, was absolutely hated. So the dear serpent was killed a lot, but it was the symbol of power, which Hermes, one of the ancient, well, it was the ancient Egyptian name for God. The caduceus has two, the symbol is, there's two snakes woven around, the rod, the staff of life. Because it's saying, have wisdom from the yin side of yourself and the yang side of yourself, blend them, and you will live forever. But you will know that you're living forever. You won't be in some fog of denial that, sadly, religions have placed you in. Okay, so here's the book that I have found in California. A couple of you have it. I will share the name of it. It's a little challenging to find, and it's a little expensive. Although, when I purchased this in 2008, I remember it seemed like a wallop at the time. It was $129. It's a thick book. It's worth every penny of $129. But I do think if you go on his website, it's a little less now. I think he's down to about the 100 mark. Whatever he's charging, if this material resonates with you, bingo. Press the go button and get there. So this is called Messages from the Body. Their psychological meaning, but it also, as you go into it, it has to do with the spiritual meaning. Now, I'm going to speak that again more slowly, just because I had a flashback into one of my dear listeners last week said, Elaine, were you on speed? You went so fast. Remember, I'm one of 5 kids. We all had to vie for getting our message out there. So here it is, Messages from the Body, Their Psychological Meaning. That's the subtitle. And it's by a gentleman called Michael J. for Julia Lincoln, as in Abe Lincoln. Michael J. Lincoln. He's done such a profound job with this. And I've used this book now for almost 10 years. I don't pull it out often, but someone had a physical question yesterday, and I thought, I got to go right to the book and look it up. The question was, their child, well, it's not a child, he's now in his 30s, suddenly developed tremors. And as any good mommy, she was concerned. And so I went to this book. Now, here's the deal, and here's how I've used it in the past. Generally, my intuition picks up almost immediately, because he gives 3 or 4 meanings, psychological and spiritual meanings for the condition. And generally, my spirit picks up what the other spirit is, where the glitch is, what's hanging them up. And once you read the words out loud to them with unconditional love, acceptance of where they are, allowance of where they are, dang it, the whole thing begins to shift. And it's much easier for them, the person, to regain their balance point, their equilibrium. It's been remarkable to watch. And some of the things, our stuff is it's painful, number one. But for many of us, it really is mentally painful. How did I get this? It's almost a sense of defeat. And what did I do? So here's what this information is about a tremor. It starts off with a little quotation mark, cosmic paranoia, end of quotation mark. You have an intensely anxious relationship with the universe that is full of fear, uncertainty, and insecurity. Some which way you've ended up feeling stagnant and immobilized, and have little faith in the universe and life, and you're feeling alone and unsafe in an uncaring world. Well, the person I was telling this to, I could hear her gasping because she understood. Yes, this young man is going through this. The job is uncertain. Girlfriends are uncertain. Where is he going to live? Uncertain. And then so I said, well, let me go on here. Maybe the second one resonates as well. I don't dare let go. End of quotation mark. There is an overwhelming desire to control everything and everyone about every aspect of every issue, situation, and undertaking. You have a complete conviction that all hell will break loose and that everything will go down the tubes unless you personally, hands-on, determine the purpose, process, and outcome of everything. And it even goes on to say you were the sane one in an out-of-control, self-defeating, ungrounded, and potentially self-destructive family. Without your intervention, things would have gone over the edge into catastrophic disaster. Now, I know the family well. I've known them for years. I know all the players. When I read that second one, the mother of this young man, she couldn't even breathe. She was like, oh my God, what's happened here? And I've said, now you understand why I am consistently harping, just do you. Do you. Pay attention to everything about you. What are you thinking? What are you saying? What are you doing? Be mindful, be present. I guarantee you will speak less, you'll run around doing less, and It's very humbling. But in this humility is where all healing lies. It's right there. Another one of my gals that called in today, I've had the great honor of mentoring her for, the last year. And it's been an honor because the honor has been to see how much she could allow the process to happen and my participation in it. And for the last couple of weeks, I didn't say anything, but I could hear her kind of this deep chest cough. Well, today the call is she took herself to the walk-in clinic and they can't find anything, but she thinks it's this and that. And okay. And so, and yet she's calling me on her drive into work. Now, I can, as an empath, I'm feeling like totally exhausted hearing her. It's like the life is being sucked out of me. And okay, she's driving, she gets to work. Now, I know where she works. And I'm thinking, surely she's going to take the elevator because there's not an ounce of life force in her. And she's not saying a thing. I can hear her get out of the car. I'm energetically walking along with her. And then I'm hearing, and I'm like, you didn't just walk up those stairs, did you? Yes, I did. I'm like, you're kidding. I said, your lungs are compromised. The healing chi that you need for your lungs can't get there. And P.S., I had just given her about a 5-minute sermonette about how important it was for her to honor her body. It's her best friend. She needs to take care of it. She's got to be more mindful. She's got to rest. I'm on my little, with the violin, giving her all that. She couldn't hear one word of it. She couldn't connect the dots until I finally grabbed her, if you will, by the scruff of her neck. What are you doing? How are you going to get well here? So it's very interesting. So I'm going to, here again, I'm going to say, now if some of you want to call in, whether it be for yourself or a loved one, with a condition, okay? It's 321-806-3159, and I'll just flip open the book and give you a little bit of insight that perhaps could help, not only if it's yourself or if it's someone you would like a broader perspective about, okay? So I'm going to look at, I think I'll just open here to, I remember my Miss Linda took a fall. Let me see if I can find anything about a fall. Oh, yep. Falls, in quotation marks, banana peels. They are manifesting feelings of being betrayed, let down, and undermined with the associated experiences of loss of standing, humiliation, and hurt pride. And this too, of course, the pattern, all of our patterns basically have been started within the family nucleus. I mean, I've not seen one pattern that wasn't started somewhere in that little womb of family. So, okay, so now let me see. And let me open to, all right, I'm looking at the clock. I got 10 minutes to go. I'm going to open to page 10. How's that grab you? And we'll see who needs something from page 10. What the heck is there? All kinds of difficulties suppress the immune system by generating and maintaining negative self-reactions and beliefs about your position or situation in the world. The mental thoughts and emotional patterns that most often predict disease and disorder in the body are criticism, anger, resentment, guilt, shame, grief, and fear. I'm going to tell you that again. The mental thoughts and emotional patterns that most often precipitate disease and disorder in your body are criticism, anger, resentment, guilt, shame, grief, and fear. So yikes is all I can tell you about that. It's very fast. I have to tell you, it's a really fascinating book, and I think I should look at it even more. At one point, I was very, very interested in looking at the numerology of each particular word. Like now I've opened to page 37, and we've got abscesses, accident. And so I took those two words and actually, years ago, did the numerology on it. And, I know a dear friend of mine's actually got somebody close to her that has an abscess. And as a matter of fact, I had an abscess a couple of times around Christmas time. Man, are they ever painful. They are something. I think I should have opened the book. I don't know why I didn't. Sometimes you just get going on another stream of consciousness. But here's an abscess. Seething volcano. And I got to tell you, when I had my abscess, yep, I was a volcano. I was seething. There were lots of hurts that I had stuffed down. So it says, with an abscess, you are struggling with a smoldering resentment and anger that has been fermenting to a point where the situation is one where they have become irritated and inflamed to the point of an upheaval. There is a feeling of restriction and over-responsibility and deprivation. Deprivation's an interesting word. When I look, we deprive each other of a hug, of a, how are you doing today? With real sincerity, not that cursory, hi, how are you? Which is like, ugh, that phrase makes me crazy. But with real intent and meaningfulness and love behind it. So inadvertently, we deprive one another. This person with an abscess is experiencing conflict and irritability and frustration and a rejection of the situation. So by the time, when the resulting eruption finally occurs, it leaves them empty and exhausted, having finally blown itself out, thereby clearing the way for constructive alternatives to be formed to meet the needs of the situation. So, very interesting. And incidentally, the numerology on it is the number 20. And the number 20 is really connected with kindness and helpfulness and cooperation and that sense of giving one to the other. So I should really take the time. This book is how many? 600 something pages. 691 or thereabouts. I think that's why I stopped doing the numerology. I'm like, this would take me countless years. But the next one I did was accident. An accident boils down to the number 8. Well, in my vocabulary, there are no victims. Victimhood is not on the table in my understanding, and nor is accident. There is no such thing. And the number 8 is all about the law of balance, and what you put out is what you get. So goes around, comes around. Yeah, the Eastern culture calls it karma, but it really has to do with this life, this time. You cut somebody off, whether you meant it or not, you're going to be cut off. And that could be whether you're in your car or whether you're speaking to someone. So accident is the number 8. So some of the things about an accident There's many. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different. He starts off each time with a little quotation mark. The first one is, hold it right there. There is a need for immediate and direct action regarding a highly stressful situation. The unconscious mind and the universe have precipitated an event that stops the direction in which you were going in order to bring to the surface issues that must be seen and dealt with. The parts of the body affected are indicating in more detail what the actual issues are. There is a need for complete reassessment and change so great that dramatic intervention was necessary. How many of you have had a good old-fashioned, quote, accident? And it's very interesting. You know, when I look at my life and go, BF and AF, before my fall in November and AF after the fall. And the BF, I was a nice kid. I was just doing my life pretty okay. Everyone who looked at that attempted to call it an accident. Oh my God, what a dreadful accident. And I put my foot down on the pavement. I put my foot down knowing this is no accident. And the dramatic intervention that was necessary was actually, it pushed energy over in my brain so that a greater appreciation and understanding and clarity of the light that I am could break in. Because some which way, I wasn't able to let it happen all by my little lonesome. You know, it's a quantum leap to really stand more and more firmly in, I am the eternal one. Like, holy smokes, who does she think she is? I mean, I've had to gulp at that. And yet, I've been looking at each of you since 1994, when spiritual law was written through me, but it was written. And in there is the one-liner, you are God in drag. Man, do people cringe at that thing. Don't call me that. I can't be that. Yes, but. No buts. So accidents are really cool. It is the universe trying to get your attention. And then people will tell me, well, my neck took a hit and my back was thrown out. And yeah, all right, I'm going to look up neck because I know somebody that just had an accident recently, so-called. And it did seem, I mean, look at any normal person would say, no, Elaine, I was stopped at a stoplight and a person came up and whacked me. Well, immediately I told this gal, yeah, well, that's nice, but it was not what you thought it was. So neck problem, they're being confronted with issues that they haven't been able to handle for many lifetimes. I know this person well. I could endorse that. And now they have an opportunity to deal with the pressure and really start to shift the energy. Another thing with a neck issue is, because many of you have neck issues, I don't want to know. My gal pal had that issue too. She doesn't want to know. She's been very happy being in La La Land and would even say so. They even don't want to be here. And there's a stubbornness, there's a rigidity and an inflexibility. So as you see, there's a whole lot to your body. I'm seeing my clock here is winding down, and I'm certainly not going to leave you with an unhappy note. I'm going to leave you on a note of your body is your best friend. Would you pay attention to it? Would you ask it what it's trying to tell you, and then listen? And don't run up the steps if you have a bronchitis. You are loved. Your body is loved. And I stand within each of you holding a light for your own well-being.